Hi everybody, I'm here with Joshua. Do you want to introduce yourself, where you're located, how you got started tattooing, and all that jazz?
My name is Joshua Hosterman. I own Bronze Eye Tattoo in Loveland, Colorado. That's kind of northern Front Range area, about an hour north of Denver. I came up tattooing here in Loveland, actually in a biker shop. I came out of art school like jaded with art, and my major was sculpture, and I was like really jaded about sculpture. And I messed around for a few years, figuring out what I wanted to do and trying different businesses, and like yeah, ended up really getting focused on drawing, and yeah, finding my way into a tattoo apprenticeship.
How did you get into the tattoo apprenticeship, and what was that like since it was like a biker shop?
I mean, well, let me say this. I wouldn't, it's not like you would typically expect, like what you picture when you think of a biker shop. My mentor was a biker, and his mentor was a biker. So I feel like I come out of that tradition tattooing wise. But it was more of I mean, he was artistically oriented, and it was like kind of a mainstream street shop. It just like, I guess I differentiate that from like, a traditional shop, a traditional apprenticeship. There's still traditions, I guess. There's different things you would learn or not learn. And from learning more over the years, yeah, I just kind of like specify that because I don't really have any kind of traditional background or training.
Do you wish it would have been done traditional style, or?
No, I wouldn't say I wish it would have been differently than it was. I mean, other than the fact that my mentor and I eventually had a falling out, which is why I left that shop. Yeah, it's like there's things maybe that I wish I had learned. I'm thankful for what I did learn. I got like a really technical training on this is how you get pigment into the skin. This is how it all like functionally works. But like I already had an art degree, and I think that my mentor didn't really feel the need to like teach me art, even though like art for tattooing is like somewhat more specific than art in general. I think maybe like I wish I would have learned more of that stuff early on because I've
Mm.
had to, and I still am learning a lot of some of that traditional knowledge that you know. I think like I would have been better off having learned some of that stuff earlier on, but we all come up how we come up, and we come from where we come from. So yeah, no, I wouldn't say I wish it was different, but yeah, I got what I got, and it's on me, I guess, to keep learning forever.
So in Colorado, what does your traditional apprenticeship look like? Most people I talk to are from Oklahoma, and here it's you have to get 1,500 hours, and then you take a test with the health department, and then you get to tattoo. In Colorado, what does it look like for you guys?
So Colorado has some like basic regulations, but they delegate really all the overseeing of tattooing down to the county level. And my county actually doesn't regulate tattooing at all, which is stupid, but that's the way it is. So I keep up on my OSHA certification, and I'm just like I'm always learning. I'm just that kind of person. So I have my mom actually was an infection control nurse for many years, so I've had her come through the shop and make sure I'm up to snuff. It's really, yeah, it's here in Larimer County. It's really on the artists to make sure that they're being safe, which it's yeah, I wish we had some regulation here, but
And then you were talking about earlier, so you said after your apprenticeship you left. Did you go to another shop before opening up this shop?
no, I was tattooing about 6 years when I left there. Not quite. And which I really think honestly that's too early to open up your own shop. But there was a lot going on, and that was just after COVID. And I had a backlog of clients. I had to get out of that shop for a number of reasons. And um, I had a friend who is much far more experienced tattooer, and he agreed to like come in and like help me get this place opened up. And he tattooed here for my first year, so it was really good to have an older tattooer around, somebody to talk to about stuff, ask questions, to like bounce ideas off of. That was all really helpful. Yeah, that was my good friend Eli. And then he went on to open up his own shop in Fort Collins. So
Oh, that's awesome. I love Coco.
yeah, yeah, his place is called Luck and Booth.
Oh, cool. I'll have to check it out. Has
Yeah,
it
you should.
has it been like strenuous and difficult opening up your own private studio, especially because like, I'm at a private studio now, so there's no walk-in. So I really have to like get my name out there and get people in the door, and that is especially getting hard because it's becoming the slow season.
Yeah, it's been strenuous. I've been involved in like entrepreneurial activities before, so I kind of knew what I was getting into. Um, I've had a couple businesses, and I helped found a nonprofit a while back, and a couple other kind of community oriented projects and stuff. So I kind of knew what I was in for, but yeah, it's been strenuous. The money's been tight. I'm actually like I was consistently booked out 6 months plus, at the other shop because they had a history and they had a lot of walk-in traffic. Um, and I started this place as more of a private studio. And I had a bunch of existing clientele to get through for like the first year and a half. Um, and then that's when things kind of started to taper off for me. And now they're kind of back on an upswing. I'm just, I think the end of this year will be my third year in this place. So it kind of tapered off at about a year and a half, and then has been kind of picking back up since I've been like, I not so swamped. I've been able to focus on the business side of things, marketing, getting a real website, Google Ads, Instagram. I'm not like much of a social media person, so that's always kind of like pulling teeth. And I'm not at all like a competitive person or a hustler. So I've had to learn, some of that, some of those skills. But yeah, and I'm about to start another artist in the studio too, and so that'll help.
So you talked about like building websites and stuff. Do you teach yourself that? Do you go on YouTube? Like, because like for me, social media is just like I just do it as much as I don't
Um,
like it.
I just went with a firm. I found actually in Denver, there's a queer owned marketing firm that's awesome. They're called Tree Ring Digital, and they have a lot of queer people on their staff, and it's always really nice working with people you don't have to like explain your whole philosophy to, and like your like what you're trying to do, and they just kind of get it. Um, they built me a beautiful website. They set up like my Google ads, and they maintain and they go through that with me regularly. So it's like it's cool, and it's kind of like as much money as I can put into that. It feeds back more clients, which is really nice.
Have you
And
had
then
any
yeah,
problems in Colorado being a queer artist at all?
no, I haven't. I mean, I'm a white dude too, so like we're starting to see some diversity in Loveland over the past couple of years, and some progressive growth, but it's this has typically been like a really white bread town. I think if there's any challenge, it's like, the community, the trans community has been really supportive of my work, and actually like fairly big proportion of my clientele. And then I mean, I fly my flags outside too, so people know to either come in or stay away depending on how they feel. And I just think that there's not, because there's not a huge queer community in northern Colorado. That has been a struggle, but I really want to be a resource to my community, and I want this to be a safe space. I'm super passionate about safe spaces, and making sure that, people don't have to go into a shop where they don't feel comfortable.
Have you ever thought about one day maybe having your own apprentice, and what would that look like from your experience?
I have, and I've had a few people inquire about that. I actually have somebody coming in this week that wants to interview. She came in and shadowed for a day a couple weeks ago. I've basically been, up until very recently, kind of standoffish about that because I've been tattooing 8 years now, and I really don't think that my work is at a level yet, and my process is refined to a point where I would like, but I recognize that I might never feel that way. And so, like, being kind of a unique and different shop, I get people that come in that they want to learn in this environment. And so now with like having another artist that's going to be here, I think like having an apprentice come in would be more feasible and more fair to the apprentice, and have two artists to learn from and be more of like a shop apprentice rather than just their my apprentice. I think that would be cool. Um, More hands on deck is always good, but I definitely want to be fair to somebody who's here putting work in. There's components of traditional apprenticeships and components of my apprenticeship that I think, incorporate into that, but I'm not somebody who believes in a lot of rules and specific perfect ways of doing things. So I guess I consider myself somebody who's a few steps ahead and can maybe give some important guidance, as somebody's starting out, and then, see how it goes, see what they need.
Yeah, I like that. That's awesome. You said you've been tattooing for 8 years now, correct?
Yeah.
What has been the biggest change you've seen over the last 8 years in the industry for you?
Do you mean like in what I do, or like what I've seen in the industry in general?
In general, yeah.
I think honestly, like I started getting tattooed in the '90s, so I've been in and out and around tattooing longer than that. And I think the biggest changes happened in the '90s and the early 2000s. I think a lot of what's going on right now is we're starting to see results of this giant boom, an influx of artists from all different backgrounds and other mediums and stuff now having access to get into this field. And so we've seen that wave come in, and it's brought a lot of good things and a lot of challenges. And I think like a lot of people like complain about the competition or whatever, complain about new people that don't respect this or that or whatever. And none of that really matters to me. Um, I, I'm excited about all the new people, all the new diversity and perspectives in this field. I'm excited about the competition, pushing everybody to elevate ourselves better. But I think, the economics of the situation is that we're like seeing that wave of new people come into the industry, and it's we're seeing a lot of new people getting tattoos as well. So I don't know, not having tattooed, in the early 2000s and in the '90s, I don't know what, like how different it would be from that insider perspective. But I think it's exciting. I think there's a lot of new technology, a lot of new machines coming out. I still use needles on the bar and mostly coil machines, but I'm starting to see the pen machines and the cartridge systems are like starting to get pretty good. So I'm kind of excited about where that will go. Um, I always think that like having a variety of machines and materials and inks and things at one's disposal is good, and understanding how all those things work and what's good for what. I think that's really important. And there's a lot to be said for, having a machine set up for a specific task, that's going to like really function well for that. And there's a lot to be said for like the economy of, having being able to set up one machine and swap out as many groupings as you want for a given tattoo session effortlessly. I mean, when I do finally get into the cartridge system, that's kind of probably what I'm most excited about, because setting up more than 3 machines at a time for me is like, it's like, I don't, it's like pulling teeth. To set up that 4th machine, it's almost like, oh, like, can you just come back for another session and we'll do a few processes at a time. So yeah, like I'm excited to see that technology get to a point where I can feel good about using it regularly, and have like a half a dozen or more needle groupings set up. I think that'd be super exciting.
What are some of your favorite machines and materials to use, like inks and everything like that? What do you mostly use?
Um, I love my Dan Cuban machine.
Everybody
I have a
loves Dan Cuban. That's like the most
sidewinder.
popular answer.
They're they're really revolutionary, and I know there's some other people working on sidewinder style machines. But when I got mine, his were like the only ones that really had a strong reputation that I could find. Um, so like that's probably my favorite machine. Maybe tied with, I got this custom single coil liner from Mike Schaefer at Flying Irons, and he built it to spec exactly how I wanted it to work. It's kind of a hard hitting but slow running liner, because at the time I ordered it, I was trying to slow down with my line work, and I was getting interested in bigger groupings and doing like colored line work and stuff. And I've tweaked it a little bit since then, the past couple years. But yeah, it's a really forward balanced, lightweight single coil machine. It's just like, it kicks ass, and it's fun to use. Um, yeah, I have few other coil machines kind of in my regular and semi-regular rotation, but those two are my favorites. I'm getting excited lately about Waverly inks, and just tried a few of his, and I have like a bunch of different brands of inks in my drawer right now. But I've been, over the past couple of years, I've been narrowing down my palette, more basic colors, brighter, bolder, stronger colors, but fewer of them, so I can just like mix what I need. I tattoo kind of more like a painter than a lot of tattooers, I guess, in how I mix I do most of my mixing in the tube. And I'm just like, I look at it, I dab it on my towel if I need to like double check the color, but like I always have a couple cups of wash, and I'm adjusting my consistency. The thing I like about Waverly inks is they're super thick but also super smooth. Dip in my clear a little bit and keep the top of that cup a little soupy, and it doesn't dry out or crust over. It's really dry here, so I struggled for a long time with having my inks crust over. And a lot of like the really thin, more runny inks, I find like if I try to like put a little glycerin in the top of them or whatever, then they start getting too watered down. So I looked around for a while for like thicker inks so that I could manipulate them a little bit more how I want to.
Did you learn how to build machines during your apprenticeship, or did you teach yourself, or?
Yeah, I had to disassemble and reassemble a few. I started building one from scratch, but I didn't really. I never finished it. Um, I think I kind of got busy tattooing, and I had pressure on me to like tattoo all the time as much as possible, and so some of that other stuff got pushed aside.
What would you say your style is? You were talking about earlier, it's very painterly. Do you have a specific style and inspirations when you tattoo?
No, I mean, other people kind of talk to me about my style, like they like my style or whatever. It's hard for me to see. I do a lot of color. Um, I'm in the middle of a big like blackwork piece right now. The only things I don't do a lot of are traditional, because there's like an awesome traditional shop right across the street from me, and there's a lot of traditional artists around, and I don't have that training, so I don't try to like I don't try to like get into that too hard. My tattoos are kind of more, I don't know, art geeky a little bit. Yeah, I'm not sure. I really like color. I don't do a lot of like black and gray realism because there's a lot of that going on around in my area. I've done it. At the last shop I worked at, I had to do a lot of that, and I kind of got, I don't know, bored with it. I mean, I when I was learning to draw, I did a lot of very realistic drawing, a lot of drawing from observation. I think it's really great to have those skills, but I don't really get excited about super realistic artwork. I like to kind of, my favorite stuff is somewhere in between that abstract and imagery.
Sorry, she wants on my lap. She's been like annoying me this whole
That's cool. I
time.
love ducks.
I was gonna ask you. You said you went to art school. Do you think that your background in like having art training has helped you in this industry at all?
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I don't think you can be a good tattooer without understanding art. You know, you can, yeah, I don't, I mean, so like in my major was sculpture, but I did a lot of like everything I could get my hands on. And I ended up towards the end of my college program doing a lot of relational art and participatory activities where I would have like a group of people doing a craft together and we would have conversations and like that was sort of that became the what I was really excited about is like collaborative, like doing crafts together with people and kind of building community that way and that part of what I did in art school, I think, is the biggest help for what I do tattooing because my whole approach from the consultation on is very conversational. We figure out things together, we problem solve together, and you know, I have the art background, I have the tattoo experience, and my client has some kind of specific inspiration and we put it all together and try to find the best possible tattoo for that person in that moment. Yeah, when I was apprenticing and until now, like I was always pushed to do whatever walked in the door. I was expected to do everything. Um, you know, I've done some portraits. I don't get super excited about portraits either, really. I know people that are like killer portrait artists, you know. So if somebody really wants that, I tend to steer them towards somebody else, unless they for some reason really want to work with me. Then I kind of like talk them through like my level of comfort with what they're doing and how we can approach it in a way that I feel qualified to do. Being a kind of a one man show here for most of the time I've had this studio, I still kind of do whatever I can for people, you know, whatever people want.
So do you do pretty much custom designs then, or do you ever do any flash, or you upload a design that you're like, oh, I'd really love to tattoo this?
I do once in a while. I do flash pieces. Most of my stuff is custom. Yeah, I like doing flash. I think flash is exciting. But I wasn't the shop I was brought up in was only custom. It was all custom. There's no flash on the walls. None of the other artists there really did. There was another apprentice at the time that was started to kind of do some flash. Um, but so I like got started in this pattern of just doing custom work and designing every piece as a one-off. So I have tons of stuff that's like sketches and ideas, but it's just kind of every once in a while that I get a chance to put that together into a completed design that I'm excited about tattooing and put it out there. And yeah, once in a while, one of those will snag, and I'll get to do a flash piece, you know, or custom or my own design, which is super fun.
That's really cool. Do you get overwhelmed at all balancing everything in life, like, tattooing all your clients and then you run your own studio and now you're bringing somebody else into it? That's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a therapist, you know, that helps. But yeah, I mean, I get overwhelmed for sure. I have to take some time to breathe and and step back and sometimes take a day off.
Do you go to any guest spotting or any conventions or anything like that? Do you ever get out of Colorado and tattoo?
I not much. I've done one convention. I've been to a couple conventions. I've only worked at one. I did one guest spot. I did a guest spot in Denver. Kind of early on in I was still kind of an apprentice, but I kind of wanted to just start getting my feet out the door and into like see it a little bit different perspective. But I've talked to some people here and there. It's hard like having this shop, and being the only one here to get away, and then not having flash like ready to go. That's kind of a big hindrance to like doing guest spots and going places where I don't have clientele ready to go. So yeah, I definitely want to do that more, but have not gotten around to making it happen too much.
I think my last question, we've blazed through all of them, is do you have any advice for tattooers starting out or people who are looking into getting into tattooing, especially queer folk or women in the industry?
You got to be unstoppable. Keep learning. Keep trying. It's something that you have to know you want it, and you have to commit to it from the beginning, or you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna like if you're trying to get an apprenticeship, hands down, you have to go in there and you have to be awesome. You have to bust ass and be awesome, and you have to just like learn everything you can. And if you're trying to learn on your own, I mean, more power to you, but that's even harder. When I started out, I was determined, and I was like, if I can't get an apprenticeship, I was gonna like learn on my own. I actually started. I bought a machine and some inks, and I started playing around with it. But the more I learned, the more I decided that I wanted to find an apprenticeship pretty early on. I did a little bit of tattooing on myself and one friend, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna find an apprenticeship, and so that's the route I chose to go.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. I'm sorry we couldn't have done it in Colorado. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that would have been fun.